Hi guys, Chef Kevin Belton here. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Julia. Happy birthday to you. That's right, gang. As a kid, I grew up watching Julia Child. That was one of the first shows I remember watching as a kid because I love food. And what made me watch it was the fact that my mom and grandmother cooked so much. And I just think it's so ironic that after watching her on PBS, that I am blessed to have a show on PBS, and I get letters from kids that watch me. Well, today, in honor of Julia's birthday, and I've done a number of her dishes her way, and one of the things I love about French cooking, it's simple, it's to the point. It's simple flavors. It's not let's take this and mix this together to create a whole new flavor. No, it's nice and simple. This dish I'm doing today is called Meuniere. This was the first meal she had in France. It was the second course. It was the fish course. Now, often, and I've done this before with Dover sole, okay? But I didn't have any sole available. So what I'm using today a little bit of speckled trout. I forgot what it was I had. Now, the reason it looks this way is because New Orleanians, we have to put our little Creole touch to it. So I did it with a little Creole seasoning, okay? Of course, we could just use a little salt and pepper on it, all right? And if it looks like I seasoned it a good bit, it's because we're gonna dip this in flour and just pan fry it. Now, I have the pan heating up a little bit, all right? Like I said, we could do just a little bit salt and pepper, but notice, do both sides. Both sides are seasoned, okay? Just remember, anytime you season, always season both sides. So I'm going to turn our fire up, and let's start we just want to basically get our fish lightly dusted in the flour. And like I said, this is going to be pan fried. Now this is just plain flour. This is a technique that is done in France a lot with different dishes, especially fish. It just creates a little light texture on the outside. We want to make sure we knock off the excess. And I'm just stacking them right here. But when I go to put them into the pan, I'm going to make sure I get rid of any excess flour, because we don't want any excess flour on there. Okay? So here, let's do this. Now, I told you I had the pan heating up. I also have a little clarified butter. And as our fish cooks, I'm going to explain to you and show you what clarified butter is, all right? But here, let's get a little clarified butter into the skillet.
Yes, Cindy, it is thunder.
Yeah, Cindy, as if it's raining like cats and dogs. But that's okay. So hopefully the internet will stay true and the feed won't go out. The other thing I like to do, gang, fish has a top side and a bottom side, all right? So let's knock off this outside, the excess flour. But I always like to put the top side down first. So the pan is hot. We don't get that much of a sizzle because we don't want it too hot, because we don't want that butter to burn. But one of the reasons why it won't burn, or at least it'll take a while to burn, is the fact that we're using clarified butter. And I'm going to show you what that is. Now, the other thing that you notice, once I'm putting things down, I don't move them, okay? And you never want to overcrowd a pan. So you want to have room in your pan so that everything can cook and have space to cook. But let me explain to you about clarified butter. Now, if you guys have ever melted butter before, and I'm sure you have, okay? When you melt butter, you ever notice on the top, it gets kind of foamy, all right? That foam that comes to the top, that's what burns. That's the butter solids. That's the fat solids. That foam that comes up to the top. Now, it's separated a little bit, but when I first took it off, it was really foamy. And then when you tilt your pan, oh, don't spill. When you tilt your pan and you scoop off the fats on the top, you're going to notice on the bottom the white part. That's the milk solids. I don't know if you can tell, there's a clear layer right in here, but on the bottom there, that's the milk solids. So what we're getting is the layer in between. All I basically did was spoon off. I just spooned off that foamy part. Then I poured the clear part into our little mason jar here. And then I left the dairy products in the bottom, all right? That little milky part in the bottom, all right?
Milk solids.
Now, the milk solids. Thank you, Monica. Now, clarified butter, once you have this made, you can store this, okay? This will keep, because there's no way to get that, it's not going to get any fat back into it because you've already clarified it. And you know, if you don't want to go through all that trouble, just say, hey, you are butter, and now it's clarified. It is clear that it's butter. But that's what we want. We just want to do this really nice. Now, this fish, a sole will only take about a minute and a half, about a minute on each side, because a sole is fairly thin. Here, our trout is a little bit thicker, but you notice I haven't touched it because I wanted to create a nice crust on it. There's Cookie walking by. Hey gang, let me show you this right quick. We go walking every morning, and this morning I had to stop because the donut hole slayer was rearing her head. Cookie, donut hole? Okay, you gonna sit over there and produce? Thank you, baby. And she's off. Now, I tell you what, it's gonna take her about a minute to eat that, not even that, because she likes to put it down, look at it, and think, am I gonna get another one, maybe? And then she's going with it right now. She may be back in about 30 seconds, okay? So here, let's go ahead and flip our fish. Oh, look at that nice crust. I don't have my fish spatula with me, so I'm just using this little spatula. But you see that crust it created? That's why it's important when we put something in a pan, don't move it, all right? If you're using a pan, like a stainless steel pan, often people wonder why, hey, why do things stick to the pan? Well, if you put the food there and let it sit, it'll create its own crust. If you put it down and try to move it before that happens, it'll tear apart. It'll stick to the pan, like you pull that chicken up and part of it is stuck down on there. That's why it needs to just stay there and seal and create that crust, all right? Now, this is almost ready. And this is one of the things about French cooking that is so nice and just so simple. Now, the other thing you can watch, and Monty, if you can get a picture of this, again, if you're not sure if something is done, just take a knife and cut into it or a fork and cut into it. But you notice here, on that edge, it was a kind of a translucent, and as fish cooks, it starts to turn white. So that white is going to start from here and then work its way down. So when you flip it, you see that bottom translucent, and all of a sudden that white starts to come to the top. But if you're dealing with a piece that you really can't see the edge of it, don't worry about it. Just take a little fork, cut it, see if it flakes. As soon as it flakes, it's fine, okay? All right, so that is almost done. Let me give my hands a little rinse. Oh, and I'll show you how quick this is to finish. Now, I'm gonna go ahead, turn our fire down some. And the other thing about fish, gang, most of this fish is all the same size. If you have a fillet that one side is thicker than the other, I would suggest cut it in half, because the thicker side is going to take longer to cook than the thinner side. The side up toward the head of the fish, toward the tail, it will be thin. If you're cooking that whole thing whole, just be careful to make sure that the thick side cooks that was close to the head, because the tail side will cook much quicker. So here, we'll just take our fish. Come on, get under there. All right, come here, spoon. Put you to work. So let's just lay our fish on our plate. Now, that pan is still hot, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this, and you can see it's starting to smoke a little bit. We're going to throw in some capers. Now, if you're not a caper fan, don't go in with the capers. You don't have to put capers in, all right? I happen to like capers. It gives it a nice flavor. They only have to hit this pan just for a little bit. The other thing, I'm going to turn the fire out. Now, I'm going to go in with a little bit of butter, all right? By putting butter in at the end, off the fire, this creams it out. And I do this off the fire, all right? This is what they call sometimes finishing. Basically, it gives things that little shine. Or sometimes if you take your spoon and just spoon it over the fish like this to keep it moist, or a piece of chicken. Here, what we're going to do, let me show you how simple this is. Come on, move out of the way, guys, so everybody can see. All right. All we're going to do here is actually, we could just take this and pour this. Oh, I'm sorry, King. Can you see that? We're going to just pour that right over the top. We're going to take just a little bit of parsley. I'm sorry, Mom. Just finish that. Just with a little bit of fresh parsley. And that is our simple French style, okay, sole Meuniere. So you can see it complements the flavor of the fish. The fish is cooked in butter. That little bit of flour just gives it a really thin coating on it, all right? So that's why a little bit of flour. You know, don't over season it, especially with something like sole, because it's so delicate, you don't need a whole lot of seasoning. The speckled trout I'm using, or if you do this with catfish, yeah, it could stand a little more seasoning, all right? The flour didn't have anything in it. The flour wasn't seasoned at all, because that's why I season a fish. So look at that. If you haven't had capers before, capers are a tiny bit salty, all right? But it adds a wonderful flavor. So just butter, capers, a little fresh parsley at the end. And guess what I forgot? I forgot a lemon. A little fresh, some lemon wedges, or I have a lime. I cut up a lime and put some lime wedges on it. All right, but a little squeeze of fresh lemon to go with this. And there we have Julia's, part of Julia's first meal when she was in France. All right, sole Meuniere. So, if you know somebody special that you want to celebrate their birthday, I suggest, how about doing this for their birthday? And I tell you what, I thank you so much for cooking with me. Hey, keep yourself safe so you can help your family stay safe. So wash those hands, mask up. Appreciate you cooking with me today. I'm Chef Kevin Belton for WWL, and we will see you soon. Have a fantastic rest of your Saturday.